Assalamu alaikum. Today is a hard day. To think about what this means to Muslims and their families across this country. We've heard people mention this, but it is so common. All of us have gone for walks with our family in this pandemic because there's nowhere else to go. There's places that are shut down. So you go for a walk. And to think that a family going for a walk couldn't make it home. To think that that casual walk around the block in our neighborhood would be one's last. To think that you can't walk safely down your own street. And to think about what that means for a Muslim family right now. People are talking to their families and saying, you know what, maybe you shouldn't go for a walk. There are people literally thinking about whether they should walk out their front door in our country. When we think about what that means, some people have said, this is not our Canada. And I think about what that means when people say, this is not our Canada. This happened in London, Ontario. I lived in London, Ontario for 5 years. I loved my time there. I think about the fact that my parents chose to make Canada our home. I love my home. I love this place. But the reality is, this is our Canada. This is our Canada. Our Canada is a place where 215 little kids were found dead in unmarked graves. Our Canada is a place where you can't walk down the streets if you wear a hijab because you will be killed. This is our Canada. We can't deny it. We can't reject that because it does no one any help. The reality is, our Canada is a place of racism, of violence, of genocide of Indigenous people, and our Canada is a place where Muslims aren't safe. They aren't. They aren't safe. Muslims are not safe in this country. And Muslims wonder, I've spoken to people, they wonder, how many more lives will it take? How many more families will be mauled down the street? How many more families will be killed before we do something?
This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and the clip that you just saw was of the leader of the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, responding to what has now been called a terrorist attack in London. And before I cut this speech into threads, let me first offer my condolences and my prayers to the victims of this horrendous attack. On June 6th, a man used his pickup truck to hit 5 people, all from the same family. 4 of them were killed, leaving a 9-year-old boy as the sole survivor. He lost both his parents, his sister, and his grandmother, and he's now currently recovering in the hospital. Horrendous acts like this absolutely must be condemned, but they must be done in a responsible manner so as to not add fuel to the fire. Jagmeet Singh's speech in the House of Commons was some of the worst fear-mongering I've ever heard a politician do. In the wake of this attack, this man had the nerve to play on Canadians' fears for his own political agenda. He literally said people can't walk down the streets in Canada wearing a hijab because you will be killed. He says Canada is a place where Muslims aren't safe. This flat out and completely irresponsible lie must be exposed for the fear-mongering that it is. Canada is not a hellhole where you have to fear what's lurking around every corner like he would have you believe. We are free to worship who or whatever we want in this country, and the people that we interact with here don't even care anyways. Minorities can come here, and if they properly assimilate and work hard, they can achieve anything. This man should know this, as he is completely free to express his religious faith through the way he dresses, which is completely different than how everyone else dresses on Parliament Hill. So for him to say this is our Canada when talking about the attack, it's not only completely irresponsible, it's totally wrong. Canadians didn't do this, my friends. A hate-filled man did. What Jagmeet Singh is doing here is fueling the fire, and he's actually becoming the very thing that he thinks he's fighting. He is fueling a divide between religious groups when this is a time when we need to come together. The truth is, in this country, you are free to develop a craft, you can become an entrepreneur, you can rise all the way to the top of a corporate ladder. It all depends on how hard you work. Individual responsibility is what drives success, not white privilege, which has been thoroughly debunked. And on the topic of Islamophobia, that's not even a thing. In fact, the Canadian government was caught red-handed, flat out lying and using propaganda to convince you that it is a real issue. Remember this? The hijab scissor hoax, a lesson in propaganda and fake news from the Canadian government. The Canadian government has just been caught producing fake news and propaganda of the worst kind. A story that went viral involving a young Muslim girl who was allegedly attacked while walking to school has turned out to be untrue and completely made up. Canadian politicians were swift to respond, condemning acts of hatred and Islamophobia. In this video, Dan Dix of Press for Truth outlines the sheer hypocrisy of the MSM when it comes to calling out fake news, as they are actively producing propaganda designed to manipulate the minds of the masses into going along with their own enslavement, and it needs to stop. And on top of the propaganda, there's also this. Proof. Canada is importing terror. Edmonton attack exposed. Abdullah Sharif, the alleged ISIS operative who ran over and stabbed a police officer and plowed into 4 pedestrians with a U-Haul truck, is a Somalian refugee who immigrated from the United States. Sharif was ordered to return to Somalia in 2011, but instead he came to Canada because the federal government offered him sponsorship for 1 year. He was investigated by the RCMP in 2015 for espousing extremist ideology, but was never officially charged. On the evening of September 30th, 2017, Abdullah Sharif plowed his vehicle into a police officer, sending him flying into the air, at which point he exited the vehicle and proceeded to stab the wounded officer, before managing to then drive a U-Haul truck down the busy streets of downtown Edmonton, striking 4 pedestrians along the way. So my friends, you have far more to fear from the government themselves than from having to worry about being randomly attacked in this country. What people should actually be doing is thinking about doing away with Section 319 of the Criminal Code, or the hate speech provisions. Why don't we just repeal that, since hate laws are really just savage hypocrisy? Religious groups should be free of hate and discrimination and unchecked aggression, that's for sure. But using the heavy hand of government bureaucracy is not the way to do this. So please be wary of the solutions that the government may offer here in response to this. We cannot allow them to use this attack as a means of destroying free speech here in Canada, which is exactly what this government wants to do. If you agree, please click that thumbs up button and share this video if you appreciate the information that I'm bringing to the table. And if you would like to support my efforts, please check out pressfortruth.ca/donate. A link is located in the description below. So that's all for today, my friends. Take care and stay tuned. We're gonna have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you